Negative speech, we'll learn more about it. It's not the subject of tonight's class, but a lot of the problems that happen in our lives is because of our speech. Because every word that comes out of my mouth that either is a negative word, a curse word, coming from a place of wanting to get approval, a reactive place, flattering someone for the wrong reasons, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Saying something bad about somebody that's true, saying something bad about somebody that's not true, saying something good about somebody that then awakens a conversation that's bad about them. There's so many levels and layers of it. But every word creates a negative force. As opposed to, for example, if you decided to steal this chair from the Kabbalah Center and you walk out with it, that's one negative action. That's one negative force you create, one negative angel. But you speak bad about somebody and there was like 100 words in that paragraph that you said about them, that's 100 negative forces. So you can do much more damage with the mouth. Kabbalists also say that one of the reasons, for example, that people have financial issues or issues in relationships or with kids is because of the mouth. Now, you may think, well, I know a lot of wealthy people who run their mouth and say the worst things. Some people have wealth because that's part of their tikkun. That's part of their karmic movie. They have to have money to fulfill their tikkun purpose. Meaning, he has to be rich to even begin his tikkun process. Then there's the wealth that comes because it's earned by the soul of the person. So, in general, when the mouth isn't protected, it can hurt the areas of relationships, which is sex, finances, and kids, because kids come from the sex part. If I'm sharing something for the sake of resolving it, or getting down to how to prevent more negativity, or how to heal myself, so there's more protection in that regard. The Kabbalists still say you have to work on it, work on yourself before you share that, so you don't come from like a really victim place. But if your intention is really to resolve and to bring light, so then there's protection. If our intention is to hurt somebody, that's the worst, right? That's the spectrum, okay? Great question. All right, so let's learn about our subject for tonight. Have you ever, tell me if this is true for you, have you ever started to work on something, you have progress in transforming that correction, that negativity, and you feel good, you made a shift, and then a week later, a month later, a year later, many years later, the same issue comes back, and you feel like you're dealing with that negativity about yourself all over again. Raise your hand if you've experienced this. Okay. What do you feel when you experience that? Like, let's say a person says, I don't want to have negative thoughts anymore. And they really fight it, and they really work on it, and now they're positive. All of a sudden, then, the negative thoughts come back. All of a sudden, the jealousies come back. All of a sudden, the victim consciousness comes back. All of a sudden, the feelings of it's not fair comes back. All of a sudden, you're not happy about your friends anymore. Your friends getting married, your friends having babies, your friends being successful. All of a sudden, you're upset. And you were like working on it. You were so happy for them, and then all of a sudden, you find yourself getting upset again. As soon as a person relaxes their grip on spirituality, Satan comes. So as soon as you get a little comfortable, then he comes. Right? I was talking with somebody and they said, having a challenge in a certain area of my life, and I told them, what's amazing? I think the Creator believes He's never been closer to you than when you're going through this challenge. The Creator feels you're so close to Him. All of a sudden you call upon the Creator, all of a sudden you learn more, you study more, you agonize over it. So it's almost like we tell the Creator, send us challenges so that I will then fight to be close to the Creator. Because when things are good, let's all be honest, when life is great, like really great, are we aching to come to practical Kabbalah? Are we aching? Are we aching? Like, if you just won the lottery like 3 hours ago, are you coming here? Are you saying, guys, put the ticket down, we'll deal with it in the morning, I got to go to my practical Kabbalah class? Yeah. What? You would like to think that, right? So the idea is when the vessel is full, it loses its desire. And when it loses its desire, it doesn't crave a connection. So that's what happens. So let's understand why it comes back. I spoke to somebody today who shared this same frustration with me. She said, I thought I fixed it, but it's back. What's going on? So I said, okay, how long have you been working on this one issue? So give me an issue. Give me an issue that you might be working on, that you worked on it and then it came back to some degree.
I tear myself down.
Okay. So now you're working on not tearing yourself down, you're saying?
Yes.
And then what happens later? Comes back?
Yeah, it comes back.
All right, so for how long would you say that you've been working on this issue? Like really spending time to change it?
Oh, spending time to change
Yeah,
it?
because it doesn't mean that for the length you've been in the Kabbalah Center. You could be in the Kabbalah Center for 15 years, but only work on this for 2.
Yeah, I've been working on this for 25 or 30 years.
You would say you're working on this for 25 or 30 years. Mm-hmm. All right, so how many years have you been feeding it?
Occasionally, all that time.
And
it just takes
some?
the right occasion.
And then some?
Oh, yeah.
So give me the full amount of years.
It started in my teens, so that means 50 years.
All right, so 50 years, you fed that klipa. We call it in Kabbalah the klipa, the shell of negativity, okay? You fed that for 50 years. Now, you've been working on it for 25. That's actually pretty good. Most people will tell me they've had it for 50 years and they're working on it for 2 weeks. Right? And they're so upset. And for 2 weeks they had success, and then they're upset it came back. So we learn, now we haven't even taken into consideration past life, right? Past life, we don't know how much your soul has fed this. But what happens is, in the same way, if a person eats poorly, their arteries, their colon, their digestive tract, all of these aspects of them start to become toxic, corrode. I remember one time seeing a photo of a colon of a healthy person versus the colon of an unhealthy person. The healthy person was like this beautiful twist. It was a perfect shape. And then you saw the unhealthy colon. It was like distorted, bent this way, bent that way. So I'm thinking to myself, this guy spent 50 years, ruined his digestion. How long is it going to take to go back? So the soul works the same way. There are 3 main levels of the soul. And based on how many times you fall in a certain area, you ingrain that negativity into each level of the soul. And what happens is, in the beginning, which is nefesh, it starts kind of like as a by accident. So for example, let's say you were never a liar, ever in your life. And then by accident, you were forced to kind of lie about something. And you didn't like it. It upset you, but, you just did it. And you saw that, the lie kind of worked. Kind of got me what I wanted. It was nice. So what happened was you drew energy, you drew the light for the negative side. Now, that part of you, the lying part of you, is a little bit stronger. And you start doing, now you still feel bad about it, but you keep doing it. Then it gets to a place where you don't feel bad about it anymore. You just do it. Do you know what I'm talking about? It can be drugs too. I've seen this with drugs. People are like, oh, I'm not sure. It's not my thing. I don't want to get into that. And they try. They go, and they feel good, but they feel bad. It's both. Feel good and bad. And then eventually it becomes a lifestyle. And this is with a lot of things. This is when people all of a sudden get wealth and they feel bad about it, but then, who cares? So eventually it becomes part of the 3 levels of the soul. And when we have to fix it, it has to be fixed in stages. When a person has to have a surgery, let's say a very complicated surgery, do you know people who they said they have to have 3 surgeries, 5 surgeries about a certain issue that they had? Why can't the doctor just do the whole surgery in one shot? The doctor can't. He needs to fix one part, let it heal for 3 to 6 months. Then go back for another surgery, fix another part, let it heal for 3 to 6 months. The spiritual work is very similar. You go through a phase, you change something. Then you have to heal. It's not a constant, intense motion of changing something. Also, the Creator knows that you would lose, what would you lose if you always had to deal with your tikkun all the time? What would you lose? You would lose your sanity. You would lose your excitement. So there needs to be phases where you work on a little and you get your reward. The Creator knows that. You get a reward, you feel good, you say, wow, it works. Kabbalah 1, it's amazing. You see in Kabbalah 1 the miracles people have. People see miracles after like 5, just thinking about the light brings a miracle. In the beginning, you get so much immediate reward and feedbacks. If you remember your Kabbalah 1 experience, you felt so high. And then it gets a little more complicated later on. The feedback is less and farther apart. But the reason why that negativity came back, that anger, that jealousy, that fear, that insecurity, that need to be loved, that all of a sudden I'm happy with people and now everybody bothers me, or you feel agitated about someone in your life when you thought you had already buried it, or maybe you forgave your husband, or you forgave your relationship, or you forgave your girlfriend, and it's all nice, and all of a sudden you hear something and it all comes rushing back. That is not your fault, and it does not mean that you didn't fix one level of it. You fixed the level of it, and when the Creator is ready for you to fix the next level, you'll get the trigger. Someone told me everything was great in the relationship. They got to a healing place, and all of a sudden the mother-in-law said something about what he did in the past. All of a sudden it all came back. So should we blame the mother-in-law? If the mother-in-law just shut her mouth, I wouldn't be feeling this way. Is it true? So who told the mother-in-law to have this conversation? Huh? Satan? Not at all. Satan doesn't actually get people to bother you. The Creator arranges scenarios for you to earn the light of the Creator. Satan just wants a piece of that light. So he comes in when you're tested to steal your light. But he's not the one that's running the show. Who brought the mother-in-law to this person? The Creator. The Creator said, okay, you cleansed, you got to this level in your relationship with your husband. You fixed it, it's good, but I want you to have a deeper relationship with your husband. I want you to go to a deeper level of love. I want you to go to a deeper level of yourself. So now that you've had a 6-month period to heal, we're going to awaken a new process. Every process is to get you to a higher place. We've heard it. It sounds cliche, but I'm going to say it again and again. Every process cleanses you and forces you to get closer to the Creator, if you allow it to. Satan doesn't want you to get closer to the Creator. Satan wants you to be a victim. Satan wants you to complain. Satan wants you to act like the vessel, not the light. Satan wants you to think logically. Satan wants you to be a person that goes by truth. Remember the first practical Kabbalah class we had? Truth. This is not fair. This is not truth. That's the opponent. Your only job needs to be, when you're going through a difficult challenge, is to say, okay, now is the time that I am cleansing another level of myself. Oh, but I've already gone through this 18 times. Don't fall. Don't fall. You don't know which test is the biggest test. You have to be willing to go through it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. There's a story of Rav Berg when he was just the student of his teacher, Rav Branwan. And they went to go visit a very great spiritual man. He was known as a very great spiritual man who was in the hospital with cancer. So Rav Branwan goes in. The Rav, who's just a student learning, comes in with Rav Branwan. And this other great spiritual man laying in his hospital bed. Now this man tells Rav Branwan, I don't get it. All my life, I lived exactly by the spiritual laws of this universe. And he did, by the way. He's like, I shared my whole life. I raised children who walked in my footsteps who were spiritual. I gave back to the community. I wrote books. Literally, this guy did everything we couldn't even dream to do. He did it perfectly, his whole life. So you know what he says to Rav Branwan? He says, I don't understand. This is my reward. the cancer. So Rabbi Brandwein, doesn't say anything, comforts him, doesn't argue with him, doesn't teach him. It's just a comfort. He feels his pain, whatever. He leaves the room. He tells the Rav, this man, his only correction could have been that moment when he's in his hospital bed and he has every reason to be a victim, and he could have just said, I still have certainty that this is for the good. In fact, this person, it was actually easy for him to be spiritual his whole life. His main test was that moment in his deathbed. And that could have cost him to lose the whole thing. So we could work so hard, and then we get to a place, and Satan knows exactly when we've gotten to this place, where he comes in strong. And you say, after all that spiritual work, this is my reward. This is how I have to go through this again. You could fail the test right there. That could have been your test. You never know. You're never allowed to throw in the towel if you want to reach the highest level of who you are. There is no, and the other thing Satan will make you do is compare yourself to other people. Look what he's doing a tenth of what I'm doing. He's enjoying himself and this. You cannot. You can never compare. You have no idea what's going on in the big picture, and you have no idea what baggage they've brought versus what you've brought. How is this lesson important for you? I want you to think about it for a moment. How does this lesson affect you? What is it awakening in you? What kind of aha moment, if any, are you having by this lesson?
For me, it feels a little bit restricting that I have to be really worried about everything that I do 24/7 because I'm going to miss the moment. And what happened if I slipped? It just feels like too much.
It's too overwhelming, right?
Yes.
So the opponent will, and yes, it would be overwhelming if every moment I had to think that way. But I have a question. Isn't it overwhelming to think that every moment you have to breathe?
I don't see it as, I don't see the analogy. Like, I don't
Wait, think about it. Well, breathing, you have to breathe in and out every moment.
Right.
So what happens?
It happens automatically.
How does it happen automatically? Why does it happen automatically?
Source within.
Source within, but it's a belief system. Does anybody here play an instrument? What do you play? Guitar. You play the guitar. Okay, anybody play the piano? You play the piano? I mean, you play the piano well? Yeah? I mean, when you see those fingers move so fast, are you thinking about each finger? But if somebody else was playing the piano, they would have to, in the beginning, when they're starting, think about it, right? So the idea is, whatever your belief system is, the Creator then comes and arranges it. So the Kabbalists used to have what you're calling it's a positive fear. It's the fear of being disconnected. And they had this belief system that they wanted to get to a place that it would be easy for them to be able to follow the path of the light, that it wouldn't be overwhelming, that it wouldn't be too much, that it wouldn't be too far from them. And because they had that belief system, the Creator, like you said, the power from within, the Creator puts that power within them to make them feel sensitive to the opponent at every moment. So it actually became as natural as breathing. Because I agree with you. If I actually had to learn it, it would be very hard. But we all need to know, and I'm happy you brought it up, we all need to know any concept you ever learn here can actually be achieved very easily as long as you believe it can. The Creator will instill it within you. Because your soul is divine, and it's 100% connected to the light. So it has no limitations. You have to believe that you can achieve any level of consciousness easily. Once you believe it, then the Creator does His magic to make it work for you.
So I'm looking at that holy man in the hospital bed. His whole life was about the light and the Creator, and it was supposed to become easy, and the Creator was supposed to make it easier for him, isn't it? Like, I'm not that level of that holy man, and yet he got that test.
Well, you're going to be tested until the last day. Until the last second, you will be tested. Well, he had a great life. He had a lot of blessings. He had a lot of miracles. He felt everything. But he still had one more test at the very end. He just had to pass that one test. So it's not to say that he had a horrible life and then the last bit of it was horrible also. Does that make sense? He had a great life. Everything he did worked for him.
That's not what I said. What I understood from what you said was that when we practice and we practice, it becomes somewhat easier or automatic to deal with those tests. And I feel like that righteous man practice, and then for him...
He never had that test, though. He didn't have that test.
Okay.
It becomes every other test. Like, every test that we have, he would have been like, what's the big deal? But that specific test, that was exactly on his level.
Got it.
Because you have to believe always the positive outcome of an unknown situation, especially when it comes to a spiritual human being. You have to actually believe, like, for example, let's say, I don't know, you saw another teacher, Kabbalah teacher, I opened the door and you saw him screaming in the hallway with somebody, like reactive, like really upset. And you're like, oh my God, it's Kabbalah teacher like, getting reactive. You have to believe that 5 seconds later, he felt really bad about it. He looked within himself, he removed it, and he transformed it. And even before bed, he looked within, and he actually got to a higher spiritual level than when he was before he got reactive. You have to believe that spiritually in order to, not be judgmental and disconnect yourself. Everything you transform, eventually, that becomes easy. It becomes like, that wasn't a big deal at all. But there are so many layers of your own personal tikkun. And some people even take on the layers of other people. So sometimes we have other souls that are connected to our soul, and we need to do the work for them as well. It was part of our contract before we came down to this world. So there's always going to be some kind of what's called concealment. You're going to go through something where you don't feel or see the light. Yeah.
How about someone who does pass the test, a very righteous man that I knew, that's done well, helped everyone, and somewhat passed at an earlier age than he should have, and at the end he was totally acceptable and fine, and Then what? I mean, what is that?
Well, he, in his own reality, if he passed all his tests, he would have experienced complete happiness, complete control, and he did, right?
He was very peaceful.
Peaceful. Oh, so what's the issue?
I
So
have
he's not
issues.
suffering like we're suffering,
I
It's
have
like,
issues.
Huh?
I mean, it doesn't make sense though, but if he's been so good to so many, what kind of end is that?
Who said every end has to be at the age of 90, with a torturous life? Why can't, for example, he leave the world at 40, peacefully, continue into a new reincarnation, live another amazing life, and go on to a bigger project? We look through our lens and say, well, how could he leave? I wish he stayed here with me and suffered with me. Why is he going? He's got a whole plan. You know what I mean? Remember, us doing the spiritual work can guarantee us one thing, that we don't feel pain and we only experience joy and happiness.
He did that. I mean, he got that.
So that's
I
it.
must
That's the
say.
reward. The reward isn't to be here for a long time and have a mediocre life. The reward is to experience the light of the Creator. Now, that could be for a short amount of time or a long amount of time, but once you get there, then you're never afraid of anything. You're never afraid of what happens, when it happens, how it happens.
That's true.
That's true, right?
Well, I'm mad though.
Huh? Well, one man did it. Yeah, one man did it. But it is possible for all of us to do it. It is possible. In our generation, it's going to be less about one man doing it and actually more people, because there's never been a time like our generation, and the Zohar talks about it, that the masses can achieve it. Because how much? We have the perfect recipe for that to happen to us. What do we have? A lot of pain and suffering. Pain and suffering is very helpful to achieve that. And we have a lot of spirituality more than ever. So these two things together can make it very possible for all of us in this room to achieve that.
Since we are going through the stages, like Kabbalah 1, 2, 3, and I feel sometimes like we are in some kind of video game.
We're in a video game.
Yeah. So each stage you go through, you acquire tools and experience. And sometimes, each stage you die, you have to go back to the end, but you kind of have that memory. You already know, so I should not go here. So now I know where to find this and that.
Yes.
So what I'm trying now, I was just telling him more like challenge you have, more you feel that the necessity to be close to the Creator. And it comes to a point that sometimes I feel like, I was telling to Sarah once, it's like sometimes I feel like I'm getting kind of like fanatic. It's
You feel what?
Like fanatic, because I'm always like trying to connect with the light all the time. I don't know, like, because I know that the challenges are going to come throughout the day, and it come in pieces. So, and more you feel like connected with the Creator, more you have tools. It comes in like, I think it's unique for everyone. It comes in like, in a sense of like intuition, like
Yes.
breathing, like, and
So I'll just say also, because I hear it a lot, and I agree, it doesn't have to be hard. We all of us, every student, myself included, we sometimes say it's hard, it's very hard. The truth is, it doesn't have to be hard. If in your mind, we change the way we think and we believe, it doesn't become hard. Hard is all the way you perceive things in your mind. So, for example, person calls me crying that her relationship just ended with her boyfriend of 3 years. Crying, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I'm never gonna find anybody, my life is over, blah, 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 the whole thing. And I said, that's so odd that you would call me at the exact moment. And she's like, crying, why is it odd, why is it odd? I said, I was just studying the astrology of today very deeply. And it said that, I embellished a little bit. I said, it says that today is the day that a person could potentially lose old things that are toxic, create the opening for the soulmate. And she's like, wow, really? Oh my God, it's so amazing. She's all of a sudden she's like happy, cheerful, nothing happened. It was over. So what happened? What just happened? What's the difference? You're still alone. You still got your heart torn out by this guy. Why are you happy now? Huh? What? Yeah, a little bit of information came her way, and she changed her belief system. So now she all of a sudden became happy. So happiness is all about your consciousness. And yes, is it hard to change consciousness? It is hard to change consciousness, but don't think it's hard to change and achieve the reality you want. Just got to change your consciousness. And you need to also believe it's not hard to change consciousness. You have to keep believing it's easy, and that's the reality you choose. Whatever you believe, that is what's going to happen. And even if everybody else tells you you're crazy, that's okay. That's what they say about anybody who revolutionizes anything. The Rav would always say, be crazy. Be the unique one that believes that happiness is possible, that you should be happy, that you should receive. Most times people don't see miracles in Kabbalah, not because Kabbalah is not working, but because they're doing everything that Kabbalah says, but they have a belief system that they should not receive happiness. So it's kind of like they earn the check, but they tear up the check before they can cash it. They earn the money. Here's the money. I worked 30 days, I got a check, and I'm going to tear it up. That's what it is. If you do all this work and you change who you are, and you change your consciousness, and you change your attitude, and you become like the light, but if you believe you shouldn't be happy, you won't be happy. That light can't enter the vessel. And that's one of the big reasons why people will do this work very intensely, but not see the results. It has nothing to do with the light's like, wow, you earned it, here's the light. You say, yes, but I'm the kind of person that should suffer all my life. I'm the kind of person that doesn't really deserve love. I'm the kind of person that needs a mediocre job and don't want to be too wealthy, even though I say I want to be wealthy. I don't want to be too wealthy because deep down inside, there's a lot of responsibility with that. Deep down inside, I'm afraid of what people will think of me. Deep down inside, I'm afraid to actually have to give what I receive. Deep down inside, I'm afraid everyone's going to judge me for my money. Deep down inside, I don't actually want to share my life with another human being. Deep down inside, I don't want to share my apartment. I don't want to share my bathroom. I don't want to share my toothbrush. I don't want to share the shower. I don't want to deal with body odor. I don't want to... Deep down inside. But I'll tell all my friends I want to be wealthy, and I'll tell all my friends I want to be married, and I want to tell all my friends I'm going to be the best. Tell everybody. But if you don't believe you should have it, so all that energy is just staying here in front of you, nowhere to go. So oftentimes just got to change that one little belief system. We know, even if we haven't learned about it much for some of us, the Bible portions correspond to weekly energies. So often if you want to learn more about your own tikkun or what you're going through, or if you need the energy and the strength to overcome something that week, studying that week's Bible portion draws that strength. So for example, the Zohar, if you study the volume of the Zohar of that week, I don't know if it's here. Yeah, it's here. Volume 6 is this week, and it will be for the next 3 weeks. See, there's 3 portions here. 3 portions for the next 3 weeks. You can draw strength that you need to achieve the highest levels of consciousness for that period of time. So in this week's Bible and Zohar portion, talks about a little bit of a soap opera situation. We have Joseph is being sold into slavery by his brothers. One of his brothers' name is Yehuda. Great. Joseph being sold, so his father, Jacob, doesn't know why, so his father's also sad. So you got Yehuda, who feels bad that he sold his brother, but also feels bad that his father is sad and doesn't know that they sold his brother. So that's what's happening. Bottom line is, Yehuda is sad, all right? He's sad. So he says here, he's sad. He says, wow, I'm a spiritual person and I did this horrible thing. I might as well go get married and have kids. At least that's a spiritual action I can do to bring light to the world, right? So he kind of says, all right, you know what? I can't fix this issue anymore. Let me go find a wife and get married. So he says here, he became depressed and he felt like there was no more hope. So he went to marry a wife, saying, perhaps I will have good children, from whom I will grow an everlasting structure. Then afterward, the Creator caused him to understand the following. So what happened? He found a wife and he had 3 kids. 2 of those children died right away. The 3rd one was given the name Shelah, which means kind of like being misled. Back then, especially now, the stories in the Bible all have energies behind them. Every name, every story has an eternal spiritual meaning. It's not about what they did back then. It's about how that energy relates to us now. He's saying, the Bible is telling us, because he went with the intention, with sadness and wanting to just fill his lack, he went with that intention to get married and have children. As a result, the type of children he brought to the world were ones that had lack of life. And that's why they died. The 3rd one came just to show him spiritually that that's what happened. And that's why they named it accordingly. The name corresponds to the mistake he made. Because back then, how did they find out the names of their children? It says that each soul that comes to this world already has a name. Like, when you came to this world, your soul has a name. So why did your parents name you, John or Jamie or Joseph or whatever? It's because they felt that the Creator told them that that's the name of that soul. It's not that they read a baby book and saw names and said, oh, that's a cool name, or they named them after somebody. That inspiration came because your soul told them to name you that. So he's saying here that even if Yehuda had 100 children, they all would have a lack of life. Why? Because he was coming from a place of lack. He's coming from a place of lack. This story is so important. And it reminds us that that feeling of lack, that need for energy, it's that moment of tikkun. It's that moment of correction. Whatever we do to try to fill that lack reactively, everything that comes afterwards won't have life, won't have continuity. The reason why things end in our own lives, relationships, business, happiness, it's because the seed level of that started with something reactive. It's very important before you enter into anything, you transform the intention of lack. We all have to look inside ourselves and ask ourselves, where are we coming from? If you want to confront someone and you want to share with them a point of view, it could be very positive. You could really help them. But if you're coming from lack, void, hurt, victim consciousness, it can only go so far, and that's often why our messages are not heard. We're saying the right thing, but people don't feel the energy because it's lacking the energy. The way to go back in time and to cleanse any mistake we've made is a two-part process. Part number one, you can go with your mind back to the situation, feel the pain of the situation, and commit to never do it again. So we can all actually do that right now if we wanted to. You can go back in time to a time you made a mistake, and you're supposed to do this every night before you go to bed. Because if you made a mistake today, it's not solidified until you sleep. Once you sleep, it's sent to the judge. But it's not sent to the judge yet. You still have a chance to do a plea bargain, to get out of this before it's sent. That's why Kabbalists, before they went to bed, they sat on their bed and they reviewed their whole day. You go back with your mind and you say, okay, I hurt this person. I was very insensitive. I wasn't paying attention. Wow, I feel the pain of that. I feel the pain I caused them. I commit to never do it again. And to the extent that you make that commitment is to the extent that it's real. Now it's not going to go into judgment, meaning you're not going to have to pay for that. It's going to be kind of in suspended animation. The second thing that happens is that test has to come up again. So something is not cleansed until it comes up. For example, a person tells me, I've been unfaithful. I've been unfaithful to my spouse, and she doesn't know or he doesn't know, and I want to stop it right now. I want to stop it right now. And I feel so bad. I feel the pain. I want to be a different person. I want to be with the light. Okay, that's great. That's the first part. But it's not going to end there. What is going to happen, according to what we just said? What's going to happen a day later, a week later, a month later, a year later? That woman or that man, or a different version of them, will, by universal law, have to come to seduce this person. And the scenario will be just right, by the way. Scenario will be like a day that she fought with her husband, so she feels lack. And it will also be the same day she comes to the office and getting all this attention from this amazing person. And who really understands her, understands her. And like talks to her, says, I understand you, yes. It's like, it's going to be the perfect everything. It says that your lust and your desire to short circuit must come up to its full capacity, and then you have to make a choice. The choice is, are you going to pause? Bless you. Are you going to do everything in your power to change, even though it's not going to feel good to change at that moment? And if you do that, you've cleansed it completely.
I was reading on to the next section, which maybe correlates with what I want to ask. So the opposite, obviously the title is Transforming Lack, but the opposite for lack for me is abundance. And when we're in a place of lack, we obviously don't see all the abundance. We're not appreciating. So what is the connection to appreciating what we do have and seeing ourselves already in that place as we're still striving for whatever else that we want, but still being in that place where we appreciate all the blessings we do have and already seeing that technically we already having it. So how do we stay in that place of already having it and then also
it's another negative belief system the Satan puts in our mind. We believe as a society that if you want something, it means you're not appreciating what you have. This is actually a belief system most people have. If I strive for more, how can I strive for more and appreciate what I have? That's contradictory. That's another false belief system. I'm telling you now, you can both appreciate and desire for more, and appreciate and desire for more. You can do those things simultaneously. I want you all to know, whatever you think is not possible, I sound like, just like a YouTube, like a TED Talk. I'm telling you right now, forget about all that cliche. It is the truth. Whatever, and we all have to fight it. I have to fight it. Sometimes something happens, I go, wait a minute, no, that's a limited. I keep telling myself, the Creator wants to give me everything. That does not jive with what I'm thinking right now. If the concept of the Creator wants to give me everything does not sync with what I'm thinking or feeling right now, I know I'm wrong. That's the bottom line. There's no other arguments, there's no other lesson. You always have to compare what you're thinking with the concept of the Creator wants to give me everything. If the Creator wants to give me everything, that's not fitting with my belief that I can't want more and appreciate and have this and have that and everything. And if you keep, and I've seen this with people who have belief systems that the world is their oyster, they have easier lives. They have simpler lives, they have happier lives, things happen faster for them. And then there's people that work so hard, like crazy, they kill themselves, but because they have bad belief systems, they're always attracting drama and suffering into their lives. Over and over again. Another bad relationship, another bad relationship. I don't get it. I'm such a good person. I don't get why another bad relationship. Because you believe it. You believe that you can't have it.
How do you change your beliefs?
How do you change your belief systems? So that is the last paragraph, which we don't have time to read, but I'll just tell you the punchline. The punchline is, Rav Brandwein told the Rav, when the Rav said, when you don't have the strength to change, how do you change? And this is a variation of something I've shared many times before. You have to ask the Creator, reach out to the Creator and borrow energy. Borrow your perfected self. If you have a perfected version, which exists in the future, you have to borrow it. You have to draw from your soul. You have to tell the Creator, my soul is powerful, my soul is infinite, my soul is perfected, my body is not. I want to draw from the bank of my perfection. The Kabbalists say that when a person prays from the bottom of his heart and asks for assistance and energy and support, a light goes up and it touches this place called Atika Kadisha. It's a realm, it's a spiritual realm of energy that's very pure and perfect. And it draws another light back down that elevates them. So actually, when you pray, when you get on your knee, when you pray from the bottom of your heart, like really, like beg, you actually send the signal, you draw a light. That will always work. The problem is that we don't pray like that unless what? Unless we're really gone to a bad place. And I can almost guarantee you, every time you've gone to a really bad place and you pray like this, a couple months later you resolved it. But how do I get to that place where I can pray like that? When things are great. That's the secret. And if you think it's not possible, that's another negative belief system. You can have an amazing life, and then for 1 second pretend like you have nothing and you lost everything and pray. And then go back to your amazing life and keep doing it. Everything's possible. So that's the secret. Rav Brandwein told the Rav, borrow consciousness, borrow the vessels. That's what all these Hebrew letters are. Many of us haven't learned all these secrets, but each one is a sequence given to us by the Kabbalists. It's not a prayer to bless God. Forget about it. These are sequences to unlock energy. You want a loan from the bank? This is your wiring codes. You know, your bank account. You dial this code, it wires energy to you every time. Dial that code, it's a different energy. Ana b'koach. This one is the amen sequence. We don't put pictures of graves because it's in fashion. We have graves on the wall. Is that in fashion that we put graves on the wall? No. That's Joseph. Joseph is the channel for sustenance and restriction. When you need to do restriction, visualize that energy center in the world. You draw the energy of restriction. That was what he was known for. He became the wealthiest man ever to have lived ever, from a prisoner to become wealthy because he did restriction. He said no to his impulse to sleep with the most attractive woman in the world when he knew he wasn't supposed to. He restricted her seductive advances, and then he became the wealthiest person in the world, met his soulmate, and became king because of that 5 seconds of restriction. So we look at that picture to draw that energy. This is Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar. We draw wisdom. We draw a different kind of strength from him. We have here Isaac Luria, Rav Isaac Luria, who was the one who revealed all the secrets of Kabbalah, reincarnation, all the amazing, the white books that we have, all the secrets came from him. He lived 500 years ago.
What about the Garden of Art?
Out here, this picture is outside where the place of prayer of the Ari was. It says that this area here connects you to the perfect vessel. It's called Malchut. They would go out into the courtyard and pray every Friday night, because Friday night is when a person receives their perfect vessel. You receive the perfect version of you every Friday night on the Sabbath, on Shabbat. A part of your perfect soul comes to you. So they would go out into the courtyard to receive that energy. There's a lot of secrets here. We haven't, some of you who have only been in the center for 1 or 2 years, we haven't gotten into the details of that. But we have the tools, we have the technology to think and to be unlimited. All right, guys? Thank you very much for coming tonight.